Of course, if you see anything around town, be sure to let us know at any time. 133 693. Your news tips and feedback welcome as well via the email afternoons@3aw.com.au. First up, though, this afternoon, do you use Melbourne's public transport on the weekend? And does it offer an acceptable service? 133 693. Let's be honest, for what is now the most populous city in Australia, a train every 30 to 40 minutes on a Saturday or Sunday into the city is absolutely hopeless. Totally unacceptable. We're encouraged to take trains into the city to go to the footy, catch up with friends, go out to dinner, see a show, but good luck getting into the city and back home again in a timely and efficient manner. Some will argue, well, why don't you just plan in advance? Have a look at the timetable and plan. Well, that's not how it works in a world city in the 21st century. Who has ever looked at a train timetable in London, New York, Singapore or Hong Kong? You should be able to arrive at the train station and know that within 15 to 20 minutes on the weekend, there will be a train to accommodate you. We spoke on Tuesday about congestion in the city and on our roads. The best way to ease that congestion is more reliability on the public transport network, and that starts with more services. Encourage people to use trains on the weekend by increasing the frequency to what it is on weekdays. PTV needs to move with the times here instead of being stuck in the 90s. 133 693. I want to hear from you. What are the biggest barriers for you at the moment when it comes to using PT? Is it frequency of services? Is it safety concerns? Is it even the cost of a 2-hour or daily Mikey? 133 693. And just on cost for a minute. Every weekend in this city, there are amazing events, shows, sporting matches, be it footy or otherwise. Why is there no enticement for people attending these events to use public transport? We need to lure people away from their cars and onto the train. So for people that have a valid ticket to, say, the footy or a musical, why don't we offer them free public transport? Take Adelaide, for example, this weekend, hosting Gather Round. If you have a ticket to one of the footy matches in Adelaide this weekend, free public transport. Why not here? During the Women's World Cup last year, Sydney offered free public transport to get locals and tourists alike around the city. But we didn't. You had to find your own way to the venue. Why? You want cars off the road. You don't want cars clogging the CBD and the freeways, yet there's no enticement to get on the train. Lack of frequency, cost, it's all barriers to people using public transport. If you combine enticements with an increase in services, I guarantee you'll see patronage grow. But that would also require a bit of common sense from those in charge. 133 693, keen to hear your thoughts. What would get you back on PT? What are the barriers for you in using public transport at the moment? And out of curiosity, what's the gold standard when it comes to public transport around the world? Is it the tube in London? Is it the subway in New York? Singapore is certainly elite and gets 100 out of 100 when it comes to cleanliness. 133 693. Peter Parker is a former Department of Transport bus planner, was part of an article that was penned in The Age today. Peter, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Shane.
Are we behind the times in Melbourne?
We are, and you can find that just by looking at Sydney, where we are similar to their population, maybe slightly bigger, but they have half the rates for their evening trains than we do. And thanks to they improving service, but us not by very much at all.
So even a comparison, because I made the comparison with New York, London, Hong Kong, which are all elite, you're even making the comparison with Sydney, a city that now has a population smaller than ours, albeit not by much, that their transportation system is far superior to ours.
Yes, because Sydney have invested a lot in both infrastructure and service, whereas we have built a lot of infrastructure, which has been good, but we haven't added service by anywhere near the same amount. So, as an example, on a Sunday morning in Sydney, your trains are every 15 minutes, even in Perth are every 15 minutes. Here in Melbourne, on busy lines like Craigieburn and Mernda, they might only be every 40 minutes. And the same goes in the evening. In Sydney, you can pretty much arrive at most stations and get a train within 15 minutes. Here, it's very often 20, 30 or 40 minutes.
The frequency of service is something that has always astounded me, and I said in the opener that for a world city, you expect to just be able to rock up at a metropolitan train station and a train to come in a reasonable time frame, especially if you're leaving the city heading home. We've gone out for dinner, we've seen a show, we'll rock up at the train station, hopefully there's a train within 15 minutes. That isn't the case. So we're putting in this infrastructure for the Metro Tunnel, we're putting in this infrastructure for the suburban rail loop, which I question whether that will ever be completed. Why are we seeing an increase in services, particularly on the weekend? And clearly the capacity can be there because we see it during the weekdays.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because the trains are already there, the lines are there, the signalling is there. All it needs is more drivers to be rostered on important times. The government has had a tendency towards infrastructure. Maybe it's because people can see it. They see cranes in the air and big holes being dug. When that's really only half the story. You really need to work the infrastructure hard to get the most benefit of it. And there's still a bit of an official mindset about trains being for commuter city peak type travel, when the pandemic has taught us that travel has become much more diverse. It's much more at night, weekends, different times of day, and our timetables, whether it be for train or bus, have really not kept up at all with those changes. Or even before the pandemic, they were out of date. And Sydney had its big upgrades in 2017, and we haven't followed suit.
And that's a great point, Peter, that you make about since COVID. I think transportation on trains during weekdays is around 75% of what it was pre-COVID. Of course, so many people now work with that hybrid model, working from home as well. So whether there needs to be a total restructure of the timetabling, whether we just need to add more services to weekends and nights when people are actually coming into the CBD, clearly it is an issue. But beyond trains, Peter, are there issues with our bus system as well? Are we lagging behind in the fact that there just aren't the services to cater for our population now?
Absolutely. Couple of the two main issues. One is coverage areas, in areas like growth areas like Mambarin, parts of Tarneit, Mount Atkinson. They have Pakenham. Some of them have no buses at all, so it might be half an hour to the nearest bus stop. And so you've got growth areas that people having to buy multiple cars, even though they might not need to, or they might prefer to pay the mortgage because there's no other transport alternatives. That's one issue. Secondly, you've got our middle suburbs and our major shopping centres, for instance, Chadstone, High Point. Some of the local buses there might only be every hour. In some cases, you've got bus routes like the main route down Princes Highway between Chadstone and Dandenong, the route 800. That's every 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon and not at all on Sunday. And those timetables haven't been changed for more than 30 years. So we've got things like Saturday afternoon and Sunday trading, but some of the bus timetables we've got are still museum pieces that don't reflect that.
Museum pieces. As I said, I think I remember coming into the city with Mum in the early to mid-90s, and I think trains were every 40 minutes then on a Sunday morning, and it hasn't changed since. Peter, wonderful.
It has not changed in the northern suburbs. The Frankston line, where the marginal electorates are, that has a much better service.
Of course, and that makes sense. Peter Parker, former Department of Transport bus planner, I appreciate your time this afternoon. 133 693. All right, public transport. What are the barriers for you from taking public transport? Is it the inefficiencies of the timetable? Is it cost? If you're a footy member, if you were to be given free public transport for those matches that you attend on that day, would it encourage you to get on the train? Would you be more apt, if you work in the city on a Saturday or Sunday, to take the train in if there were more regular services? 133 693. Your call's right after this at 20 after 12.
Mercedes-Benz Berwick, Australia's most awarded Mercedes-Benz retailer, brings you Melbourne's most listened to and loved, the 3AW Rumour File. You could win a Mercedes-Benz GLA 200 SUV, valued at over $74,000. Thanks to Craig Howard and the team at Mercedes-Benz Berwick, the Rumour File. For Mercedes-Benz Berwick, Australia's most awarded Mercedes-Benz retailer, just after 7 on 3AW Breakfast.
Now, for over 40 years, Coral Expeditions has been taking travellers to places beyond their wildest dreams. So if you've never experienced the real Australia, why not take a trip on their iconic 10-night Kimberley cruise? This is a holiday where you'll discover ancient and rugged landscapes, mighty rivers and waterfalls, and epic tidal spectacles while cruising the remote Kimberley coast. And it's all backed by expert knowledge on board Coral Expeditions' purpose-built small ships. This cruise is even more spectacular during waterfall season, which is on sale right now with great savings. Book your place on this true Australian adventure at coralexpeditions.com. The best in the Kimberley for 30 years.
At Kmart, you can trust us to keep our prices low every day. Like our kettle. It was $7.50 10 years ago and is $7.50 today. In fact, you'll find incredibly low prices right across our stores every single day. From homewares and toys to outfits for your whole family and more. We're always working to find low prices on everything you need and love. Guaranteed. Kmart. Low prices for life.
The cops. Nothing to see here. Oh no. Don't put the lights on. Don't put the lights on. Oh, damn it.
Evening, driver. License, please.
Don't be tempted to take risks while you're driving. Chances are you will be caught. Anywhere, any time. A message from the TAC. Drive safely. For everyone.
Australia, it's time to discover the mobile plan deals you've been missing. Circles Life for an award-winning telco who piggyback the Optus network and offer some of Australia's most affordable mobile plans. With no lock-in contracts, you can also now roll over up to 500 gigabytes of data on all new plans. T's and C's apply. Trust Australia's fastest-growing digital telco, Circles Life. Awarded most satisfied customers and most trusted by CanStar Blue. To find out more, search Circles Life.
It's Tyre Power's Power Up sale, so you get the power to buy 3 and get 1 free on selected Kumho passenger car and SUV tyres. Power up and take your tyre safety to the next level. Visit tyrepower.com.au.
This is Shane McInnes in your afternoon till 3.
Well, it used to be the case. You'd take the morning train, 9 to 5, and then head home, but it's not the case anymore. So many more people coming into the city on a Friday night, Saturday and Sunday. Is the transportation on offer adequate for their needs? 133 693 or emails afternoons at 3aw.com.au from Rod. Perth also used to have free public transport with a valid ticket when I lived there. This was great when you were going to Subiaco or the Wacker. Made it so much easier. A few drinks, you knew you could get home safely. And from David, here is the gold standard Busan in South Korea, 5 a.m. Sunday morning. 10 bus lines running every 5 minutes. The hotel worker laughed when I asked for a taxi. Fair enough. Why would you? Too much public transport, easily accessible. G'day, James.
Oh, hello.
Go ahead, mate.
Yeah, you were just talking about Busan. I just came living from Seoul in Korea.
Yeah.
For about 6 years. I loved it. Public transport was, it was clean, it was cheap, it was quick. The subway they had was connected. Like, so many lines were connected. That's a big problem I find with Melbourne. You know, you have to go into the CBD just to hop out to another line. But yeah, it was only like $1, one way or something, like, you know, and like they came every couple of minutes. It was great, yeah.
What were you living in Seoul for, James, may I ask?
Oh, I was an English teacher for about 6 years.
Awesome. What, did you love it over there?
Oh, yeah, great. But yeah, to the public transport part, I never lived with a car, so...
Mate, can't do that in Melbourne. You certainly can't do that
in Melbourne. I've had my mum chaperoning me around for like the last couple of days.
James, welcome home. Appreciate the call. G'day, Peter.
G'day, Shane. Getting to the footy. When you go to the footy on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, there's plenty of trains out where I live to get you into town sort of within every 10, 15 minutes. But getting home at night is a nightmare. It's the most crowded train you ever ride on is the train that you get on when you're trying to leave the MCG to get home. You go to the footy on a Sunday night and the game starts at 3:10, so it finishes bang on 6, so Channel 7 can go straight to the news, and then you're lucky to be home by 7:30, and you're on the most crowded train you've ever seen in your life. It's just wrong.
Peter, do you find that at 6 o'clock on a Sunday that there just isn't an adequate number of services, so that if you were to, let's say you miss the crowded one, you go, I'll just grab the next one, you're going to be waiting maybe 20 minutes, half an hour for that next train to come?
100% correct. You're waiting 20 minutes or more. There'll be 2 trains going to Glen Waverley, one of which will be completely empty, but trying to get a train to go to Ringwood is just, it's hopeless. It's absolutely hopeless.
And that's the issue. That's the issue, Peter. The fact that in a city like New York or London, you see a train, it's absolutely packed, or you miss it, you go, oh, okay, that's all right. There'll be another one here in 5 to 10 minutes. After the footy on a Sunday, you go to the train station, there's a train there to your destination, as you say, Glen Waverley or Ringwood. You run to get it because you don't want to be sitting there on a July afternoon, July evening, when it's 10 degrees and pouring rain. Peter, appreciate it. Hi, Roland.
Hi, Shane. Just commenting on I've been a month in Shenzhen, in China, and experienced their new underground. Absolutely sensational. Trains every 4 minutes, and the biggest bonus was the security. If my wife was to go into the city at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, you wouldn't give 1 second thought to safety. It would just not be anything that crossed anyone's mind over there. And the second bonus being a senior, it's free. So you tick that. They've absolutely nailed it.
So you tick that box, giving that free public transport for seniors to encourage you to use it. But that safety element, especially as a senior, Roland, when you can feel a little bit more vulnerable, is huge. Is it security at the station itself? Is it on the train?
Every station, and I understand there's differences, it's a sealed system. So every station you walk through an airport type security, and if you've got a bottle with you, they put it on some sort of scan that I guess sees if there's anything inside it. Now, based on their population, which is the same as Australia, there's no delay at any station. You just walk straight through these checkpoints, and there are people manned on the trains. A security guy gets on one platform, walks up the train, gets off. Someone helps on another station further along. And the announcements are amazing. You know, there's no Glen Waverley line or Dandenong. It's line 1 to 8. And there's clear announcements in English and Chinese saying, disembark here to join line 7. It just is precise. And
it does. Amazing, Roland. I think it often takes you to go to other places around the world, and I was fortunate enough to be in Tokyo last October, and you just get on the public transport system and you feel like you're in another planet. That it is so far ahead into the future, the way that it is on time, the announcements, the maps that are available, and then you come back home and you go, hold on, why didn't we keep up with our public transport like this through the 80s and 90s? We just seem so far removed from other places in the world. 133 693, your public transport recommendations, your experiences. What would get you back onto public transport in Victoria and Melbourne, particularly on the weekends? Smack bang on 12:30 in Melbourne. Let's check news headlines for the first time this afternoon. Tony Taddeo, good afternoon to you.
Thank you, Shane. Good afternoon to you. Former St Kilda player Sam Fisher, who used an oven range hood to smuggle drugs, is facing more than 5 years in jail. 41-year-old Fisher, who played 228 games for the Saints, has pleaded guilty to trafficking meth, cocaine and GHB. A playground in Melbourne's western suburbs has been closed and several other sites are being inspected after asbestos was found in recycled mulch. Hobsons Bay councillors confirmed 2 pieces of compound material found at the Donald Maclean Reserve at Spotswood have been tested and contained asbestos. The Prime Minister is sharpening his rhetoric following the death of an Australian citizen in Gaza. Zomi Frankham was killed alongside 6 other aid workers in an Israeli airstrike. And in sport, Cody Wakeman will line up for the Western Bulldogs when they take on Geelong on Saturday. despite re-injuring his elbow last week. All the details at 1.
Tony, thank you so much. Coming up next, Perth. They want to steal our major events.